There we were, in the greatest sushi bar in the world, which happened to be very conveniently located within walking distance of my uncle's house. My uncle decided that it was our second to last day here, and he was going to treat us to sushi, which means we were going to eat whatever he bought, and we were going to drink whatever he paid for, which meant we were drinking sake. Now here's the thing about my uncle. He is both totally radical and totally gnarly. And yeah, he does talk like that because he is a surfer from the 80s. Now, my uncle, an example of his total gnarliness and total radicalness is that he married his high school sweetheart and then decided to take a 3-month trip to Australia without her. Another fun thing about my uncle is that he could be affectionately described as a beach bum, but also he sells surfboards as a high-powered executive at Billabong. He's a kind of a mishmash of a person, so I listen to whatever he says with a lot of respect. He told me this: "You can't just live the life you're living now, man. You gotta do stuff. You gotta get on planes. You gotta get on other planes. You gotta get on boats and planes and ships. You gotta get drunk in Spain. You gotta break up with your girlfriend. You gotta get back together with your girlfriend in Venice. You gotta do some crazy things. You can't just stay here doing nothing on my couch." And that's what we had been doing. For 2 straight weeks, Laura and I sat on my uncle's couch. Now, I should describe Laura. Because, I mean, it's been a year. You guys obviously all forgotten about her, right? Okay. Now, Laura is not what she appears. She is Puerto Rican, but more southern than anything else. Laura is an intelligent person that makes some interesting mistakes. Laura is a person who is very organized and structured, and she knows everything she wants to do, but sometimes she's incredibly impulsive. And I'll get to that later. I know. So, it's the morning, and I am enfigured by my uncle's words, and I say I'm going to do the craziest thing I can think of on my last day in California. We're going to take his Prius and go to San Diego. We saw old San Diego. We saw pueblos and little houses and girls in dresses. It was really nice. It was fun. And then we saw the train system. We went to downtown San Diego and did a bunch of really nice, cool stuff and picked up some magnets. That is when we looked at the train schedule, and Laura turned to me with the look of a person who may have just seen Arroz con Pollo and says, "Let's go to Mexico." So we did. We went to Mexico. It was right there at the border wall. And by the way, Trump is talking about building a border wall. There's one. I've seen it. It's there. It's there. So I'm at the border wall. Now, the border wall is an incredibly scary place because there are magical turnstiles of death that turn in both directions, and I'm not entirely sure how I was supposed to get through them. There are scary, scary army men with giant AK-47s and a very mean look, and the hallways twist and turn like 3 times, and you're never really sure if you're going the correct direction or if you might just stumble into an officer of the law and he'll kill you. Either way, there we were, in Tijuana. Now, the thing about Tijuana is that there's kind of no rules. You can kind of do whatever you want. There's whatever you want to do. But the other thing about Tijuana is that there's like no rules, and anyone can do whatever they want to do. It's like crazy. You start going in really simple. You see some fun stuff to do, like get margaritas, drink some coffee, get some cheap dental work done, and then you go further and further into Tijuana, and you see some scary stuff, like donkey shows. Do you know what a donkey show is? Donkey shows is when a woman abuses a poor donkey. And yeah, I know, I said woman and I said donkey. So I was ready to go. I had run out of level 1 Spanish vocab. I didn't know what to do anymore. I turned to Laura and I said, "Look, we gotta go." And she said, "Fine." So we got back into the long line to get back into America, because there was a long, long line. It's like 5 hours long. There's just people stretched out, down through the border wall, down the street, around a corner, and into a back alleyway where people were trying to sell me phones. I didn't want to wait in that line, but we didn't know that there was another option. Laura heard something in the distance. I heard gibberish, but she heard Spanish. It was a way out. It was a white van for Americans that would just let you back in the country. No problems, no questions asked. It was wonderful. And I asked for $6, not pesos, which I thought was a little weird, but whatever. We paid $12, both of us, to get into the van and go home. Now, on that van, there were several people who spoke Spanish and English fluently. Some people only spoke Spanish, and there were a couple interesting characters, like Scotty, a Scottish man, who I'll get to later, and Dusty, who is from California and sells weed. Now, Dusty had stored $600 to get some really, really cheap dental work done on his mouth. But instead, he spent $100 on margaritas and tequila and got crazy wasted. Dustin wanted one thing in the world at this moment, and it wasn't dental care. It was tacos. Tacos! Tacos, tacos, tacos! He shouted. He was looking everywhere. He was in Mexico. He couldn't find tacos. He was just so confused. And then he spotted it. 14 lanes away across 2 7-lane highways to get back to America. He sees a taqueria. And he makes his decision. He slams open the door, stumbles up, and moves across those 7 lanes of slow-moving, stopped traffic. Don't worry, he's fine. Now, I assume that he's gonna die, so I don't want to look at this. I don't want this to be part of my Mexico journey. This is not my life, or it might be. But 10 minutes later, he comes back and he's fine, with tacos that he didn't like, and a Coke that I was allowed to have. Now, with Dusty solved, his problem settled, he went back to sleep, and we heard a lot of things from Scotty. Now, Scotty was from Scotland, and he said a lot of things like, Scotland's great if you like it piss in the rain, or things like, man, I can't stay here, I gotta piss, and other things that involved a lot of piss. At one point, Scotty had enough of our stupid questions about Scotland, and his need to pee, and his waiting in this stupid van for 35 minutes. Scotty had enough, and he said it. I can't take it no more, I gotta get out of here, and he opened the thing, and he stormed out, and he walked to America, not using the line, just walked in. I don't know what he did. It was at this point, 45 minutes had passed. Our vans were never moving. I didn't think we were ever gonna leave. They were just gonna trap us in these vans. When suddenly, we lurched forward and then suddenly stopped. We'd hit another van full of Americans trying to get to America. The 2 drivers had a very long Spanish argument that I didn't understand a lot of because I don't know swear words that well. So, they told us we had to leave and get out of line, and we could get into the special line for Americans that we had no idea existed and no one told us about. They really should have more signs. So we sit in the line for Americans, and that's when I realize I have no passport. I have no ID. I have no real way of proving who I am as a person and as an American. They don't just let you back into America for no good reason. What was I gonna do? Dusty turned to me and said, hey, I don't have a passport. I don't have an ID. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I've got $500 and no real idea. I sit there and I start pacing, and I think, $500, that'll buy a lot of stuff. What can I buy? What would I need? Food. Food first. Maybe shelter. No, wait, I've got a house. My uncle's bought a house. It's good. It's in Mexico. We can stay here. It's fine. Okay, $500. He says he knows a guy. He knows a guy who can sell us weed, so we could just become marijuana dealers in Mexico. It's a perfect idea. We can sell marijuana in Mexico. It'll be great. I can't be known by Kyle Egelhoff, the marijuana dealer in Mexico. I have to have a brand new name. El Tiburon. Because I ate shark one time in Puerto Rico and it sounded like a cool name. Yeah, El Tiburon, someone you don't mess with. He's cool. He wears like a white suit and like another white jacket over it, and like white pants, and like a white belt, and like white shoes, like a white hat. And he walks around, El Tiburon. You don't mess with him. You don't stick him for money. You pay for all the weed you get, and that's the way it is. But one day, I'm gonna be sitting outside of my pueblo just minding my own business. I have caused someone some major problems and they will hate me. Laura will come out of the pueblo looking at me saying, and she'll look me straight in the eyes when it'll happen. Laura will shout over my dead body, ¿Por qué? Ay, Dios mío, ¿por qué? That's when I heard a very American, very English sounding, next. I stood up, dusted myself off, and I went to the counter. Name? Kyle Egelhoff. Where were you born? Anaheim, California. All right, you're in. I was saved! I was back in America where things made sense and there were no donkey shows. Everything was perfect. I didn't have to die in Mexico. Here's the thing about me. I really, really want to have adventures, but I hate being outside of my comfort zone.
Teller. He has been in Tellers so long.
How long has it been?
He's been in Tellers so long that the first story he told was the story of Adam and Eve, because that's the only story that existed.
How long has it been?
The first time he was late for class, his excuse was that his horse and buggy broke down.
How long has it been?
It's been so long that next year he goes up for tenure.
4 more years. 4 more years. 4 more years.
You remember that part about how he doesn't know Spanish? It might be 4 more years.